Hello, my name is Michelle Hartnett and I'm a living artist and poet based here in Limerick City, Ireland. Welcome to my online exhibition. It's called My Mind Matters and my husband takes the credit for that title. It has taken me many years to realise my creative side and not to be fearful of expressing it as an artist and a poet. My husband has consistently nurtured and supported my works from the moment we met almost 20 years ago almost. This is my very first exhibition, and for most of my life my creative energies were buried deep down inside me that would only come to the surface occasionally as ramblings, which were often misconstrued by most people around me. Consequently, I was fearful of expressing myself creatively in public for fear of judgment or being analysed. Worse still, it wasn't until I started art and design in KRC Adult Education, Limerick City Services at the age of 39 that I began to realise my passions and my true calling. This led me to undertake an arts degree in Limerick City College of Art and Design in 2016, and finally I graduated with my degree in 2020, and I successfully applied to Limerick City Arts office for an arts grant in April this year for this project, and I feel very privileged to be successful in my application. So, to run it all down in a nutshell, this exhibition consists of a slideshow of 50 drawings with me reciting freestyle impromptu poetry which is inspired by each piece. So basically my husband taped me doing freestyle impromptu poetry, which is unrehearsed, and it's ramblings based on what I interpret from my own paintings. The background music is made by my husband Brian, and the drawings were inspired by meanderings of my mind on various subjects such as nature, people close to me, Limerick City, County Clare, the dynamic multicultural society of Ireland, God and positive forces. Throughout my works I would have always tried to maintain positive energy, and this has been my modus operandi since I was a tender young age, and it's a kind of familial trait in our family that we do this because we inherited that from our parents, and we also have very high stamina, sometimes too much I think. The materials I used for this exhibition were Sharpies, my own photographs from Limerick, Dublin, Galway, and when I was in Paris in adult education for 3 days, 3 nights, black ink fine liners, colouring pencils, watercolour pencils, watercolour crayons, Posca markers, Winsor & Newton Pro markers and graphite pencils on marker resistant paper and combined media cards. So in a nutshell, that's what I used. I want to sincerely thank my husband Brian for assisting me with his love, his consistent encouragements, and for helping me to produce this video, which would not be possible at all. I want to also thank the Limerick City Culture and Arts Office for this opportunity to exhibit my works and by providing me a bursary to produce this exhibition. I want to thank all the staff of Limerick City Adult Education Services in Kilmallock Road campus and all the staff of Limerick College of Art and Design for all their help, guidance and inspiration and support. Blessed thanks again to my husband Brian, and thank you to our families and friends for their ongoing support and for always encouraging both Brian and I, not just myself, but the two of us were a team, to do what we feel is true to our nature. I wish to thank everyone, absolutely everyone, visiting and supporting my exhibition. And finally, praise to God and His angels for His love, care and inspiration and hope. I hope you enjoy my little exhibition called My Mind Matters. So, love from Little Limerick Laneways, Michelle Hartnett. Seeing all past pains tumble through the narrow tubes of time, directing into your honest hands an earnest ache of 6 Mile Bridge, with ducks flying past the meanders of your precious, precious mind. The knitted sand dunes stood out past the tabernacles of another day work. In your minded paths, your marbled ways became visions of 6 Mile Bridge and Quilty, long before time was invented. I saw in you a raging earth of forgotten yesterdays, and beams of light shining through the eyes of a merciless child who found in his soul the clay earth of East Clare, pitting out potatoes for tomorrow's fields of yearning yesterdays, of dreaming dreams of Tumbai youths. Conception of time was involved when the cosmos clashed with the stars and God coughed out his tabernacles from the skies like jewel drops, and you became in my soul, Christ, the salvation of all fluid, of all waters, of all mercies, and you became my child of Christ. A carnival of clown-like cartwheels, you escaped the pains of a working-class youth. Your ruthlessness showed valour in your vulgarity, which spewed falseness and facetiousness at a covert cough. For you, Trump, with your terrible tabernacles of heartache, bringing pain to all those who are already pained. The looking glass of time looked frown at me. She smiled vulgar, spitting spew out through the gut of her gore, and in it I saw a reflection of myself, releasing myself from the pains, as when I was 16, when I learned that the hard way is the only way. A swan swam, serenading in the secrets of the Shannon, carrying her basket of valour, and the moonlight shone in the eyes that danced on the swings of and roundabouts of the People's Park. At the age of 5 I learned that having fun was flirting with the sun. The mountains of red and blue and turquoise in the throat and gullet of the thrush that sang on the hedge of heather and fawn and piss and spew, all became a vision which Christ had told you from a young age, that your mission is now free, and that your head in the bough of a tree, all singing in succession of rainbows and melodies. The candle caught your mind. It lit a fire which no xylophone could ever reach. Your ear became the aching honesty, piercing sounds and visions through the truths of your tongue, tasting divinities and dynasties of an Irish youth, and oak trees swung and bowed their grace in your presence. Noah, when you were born, the angels sang in succession. They placed a medal on the table of your truths, and in your twinkly toes you found that soccer was your salvation. In the books on the archives of your museums in your mind, the little boyhood you held in the pride of a precious parting. Glyn, the oak tree. Your wisdom surpassed your mind surpassed your vision surpassed everything that I have ever known. You became a comrade. The Achill Island boat became the dreams of yesterday's whispers. The moon caught in the chestnut shell became the sorrow which became the sweetness of Christ's passion on the tree he was crucified. I saw and witnessed the curling, furling fawns of the fronds down by the River Shannon. The faces of Limerick butcher men and women on the pig's blooded streets of Roches Street. The song which whispered out through the fumes of a burnt out candle, and the promises of a new Ireland. Mary's mantle became the purse of promise and purchase for souls that had lost, deviating through narrow laneways and ending up on country roads, and finding farmers bent over in fields of crocked hay. The mountain in your mind had shifted. You became a Navarro Indian of truth. You swung sweetness at the visions of cot whispers and became the candle of the light of dawn. My ear ached for your fisherman's web which you were born on the face of all divinity, as Mother Mary held you in her arms, singing into the eyes and eyebrows of your soul. Your ear became the cot of all humanity, and your mind became the bedroom of all dreams. The lemon saga, the sorrow of a cup of tea, now solemn grace, in the linoleum floors that you bent over and stretched and stitched with your hands, the piercing pains of a 6-mile bridge youth, finding familiarity in the yeast of your baked bread, which you rose in company with carny cake and sweetness in a stranger that became postman of the letters of time. The circles revolved around in my mind. The dancing dandelions spitted out aches. What became a sunflower is the mission I saw you on, and the seeds you sowed, with the tips tipping over nasty nettles, and the drink from the draught of youth. Steeped into the history of a waving, watery ocean, with a monster stepping out with his hot feet, taking a drink from the lampshade of truth. The hive of bees gathered around the crucifix which gave nest to the queen bee, the Virgin Mary, that plucked out the honey from the nectar, that gave the pennies to the poor, that sucked up the cigarettes and spat them out into the ashtrays of an Our Lady's Hospital grace. Flowers became forgotten. Grey skies were accumulating in my mind. The windmills of Celtic circles and the fires with neck curtains, piercing with pie-eyed neighbours, dancing in a heroin lane and seeing freedom in the honest grey granite. Her face had become a visage of a good old oak tree, gracious in the knowledge that the tannins steeped in the kernels became the cement for the fires to burn, with eggshells being crushed for the chickens. The egg timer never worked. The eggs were always watery, but I always felt nourished in the knowledge that they came from the market, meek, mild, good-humoured, highly spirited, and the bird that flew from the nest of the wren became the St. Stephen's Day dancing shoes. The moss caught between my toes, and the wetness absorbed into my parched soul. The peacefulness caught in a frame of Millet of the Angelus, and the dinner, with a laden linen cloth, became the embellished carnival. The vinyl record revolved around the fire in the land, and the bloodied moon of Christ of his promised return. Double visioned, I plucked magic mushrooms violently to purchase me an escape, which led me to a nightmare, which led me to a field in May, as I remember laying down, looking at the castanet of clouds and hearing the snipe bird and feeling the pheasant brush as it maternally placed its womb over my mind. I saw your face emerge through the tree of the King of Lear, and without that I would have purchased a poisonous pen, and instead I chose your way of polka dot visions, of egg whitewashed walls, and the kiss of honesty. Your liberal landscape became the swoosh of the ocean over the thoughts of time. Fire became a symbol, laying a pasture, weeping over my engaged youth and seeing further into tomorrow's field. You shook the grey skies from the linen landscape as you said, I have to get these clothes in right now, there's a storm approaching, while you chopped wood and plucked the strawberries from the skies and a vision of fields and flowers. The star-shaped flowers seemed to reflect the irises of your eyes. The corncrake became your saga. The bleached white socks you purchased me for my communion, as I danced in puddles 2 days later in them, while you laughed and said, at least you didn't get them dirty on the day. The paisley print I borrowed, which you took at 3 o'clock in the morning, my wasted youth spending and spiralling and swinging from ache to ache, the clock which toiled eternally, now forgiven. The table was set, the honour was laid, the grace was given. You gave me back my name. Flags flying furtively as geese swam overhead the skies which became the oceans, and when the oceans became the skies, the mystic in you, the shaman in you, and the Christ in you. I pivoted, I furled, I coined, I sang, I gave up, I gave in, to win another chance in life. Red admirals became the flickering flowers in my mind at 4 years of age, as my mother scrubbed the pots and pans with life-buoy soap. It stank a sweet smell of honesty, as a magpie flittered around in the backyard, only to find his mate, while you changed the nappies and put us to bed. They are an island of my heartache, the constant searching of the boat of dreams, as the seagull skittered and laughed and roared and bellowed its blatant cry, while the men returned home with fish. The buffalo soldier, the tree that ran through your mind, that bended its bough over your ear, that cursed thoughts which gave layers and layers of visions in your eyes, on the mountains of your shoulders. Look out for the rabbit traps, as your stick became the guide, as your feet became the ground, as your ear became the air, and the land was so profound. I ache to hear your song. I swam to see your dream. I ached to hear your song, because my life had become so obscene. I kiss the curling boys of shyness, enshrined in the musical museums of time, as I placed a bag of frozen peas, wretched and violent, for the thirst to quench the pain of Nellie's head, as she cracked a shriek of childhood pain. "Nellie, are you all right?" I hit my head, she said. "Nellie, sit down." I placed the pensioner's pension in her hand and gave her a holy medal of St. Rita. "You remind me of my grandmother," I said. She also was from 6 Mile Bridge. The line of Judah became your throat. The line of Judah became your vision. Your eyes scorched and seethed heat from the tunnels of television programs in your youth. You picked the pain of poverty out through the scourge of the potatoes. The wolf lost his cry, only to be regained again in a hidden landscape amongst the hills, which revolved around the truth of the master railway line, which carried prisoners of shovel and heave, which led to the doorways and the pearly gates of heaven. I collected frog spawn as a child, as I nursed the nature table in Miss McNeese's class. She didn't understand, but I forgave her, because I knew she didn't have the experience, and the revolving door of Our Lady's became its symptoms. The snail-shelled streaked floors, the toast made off the supersor, the joke Brian, my brother, played by placing white pepper all over the Stanley stove, that we couldn't stop sneezing, that he thought hilarious. the tangerine flowers, with you as a wise nomad leading me on the path to a cup of watery octaves. Dad, the steps you stole from an honest angel, the tears you cried through the precious pride, and the life you saved by holding my hand one day. You laughed so bellyful at the Tom and Jerry cartoons as your eyes steeped to your jawline, and we could see your tonsils. We could see your fillings, the cursed cigarettes you smoked that you felt you couldn't stop, and the recovery you got when you sang songs of silence. Your pursed lips, your downward limerick grin, the heaving hoof now removed, and the accolade of angels that tickled your chin. Noah's Ark, you smiled through the channels of my heart. You built the ark of playhood and boyhood with my sister, sweetly unripping the drop stitches of my honest scarf I made at 8 years of age, and my mother leading us up the road to Mass every Sunday morning. The obituaries were said 4 times a day on Clare FM. The floors were swept, the bins were emptied, the beds were dressed, and the women, the silent prisoners, became my soulmates.